Right now, we're in the situation that we're waiting for Xi and Trump to meet G20 and have a chat. What do you think comes out of that?
Well, I kind of think, Nicole, that it is going to be some type of mild agreement. By mild agreement, I mean something that just paper overs the disputes and pushes it on to a couple of years away from now. Disputes are not going away.
Right.
But I think what we're going to see is the Chinese are probably going to give on some issues like letting U.S. financial markets operate more freely in China. Things not involving tough issues for them.
Right, right. So a sort of kick the can down the road, but even through the next election, you just think it just goes on and on.
Well, I think basically it's in everybody's interest. I think Trump, his latest polls have been horrible in the farm states, the leaked polls. I think he really needs to, pacify the farm states and pacify the industrial states. I think his threats to impose 25% additional tariffs would be devastating on the U.S. economy, especially inflation. So I don't really think he can go through with it. And I think Xi, on his side, has bigger problems than the U.S., i.e. Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
I mean, we saw all the protests in Hong Kong at the time when they were talking about the extradition.
Correct.
But the big picture is really, what is the mantra, the ideology of what is really going on, whether or not China is a competitor, or are they a true enemy? I mean, technically, from what we know, they're only a competitor. You compare them to other enemies that have attacked the U.S., or they're not an enemy.
Right.
It's
no,
just, this is all about trading, right?
Yeah, they're not an enemy at all. I mean, you look at it. They're not like the Nazis. They're not even like the Russians who attacked us in the last election and violated our sovereignty. And also, historically, China's never been an aggressive nation, never really moved beyond its cultural realm, historically. So, to see China as an enemy is, I think, more political than reality. I think we might need an enemy for political purposes, or the concept of an enemy to organize our politics. But China is not an enemy, and as a competitor, hey, well, one, I think the U.S., no one can outbeat us in this stuff. I mean, the China's talking, I mean, where's the competition everyone's talking about? It's talking about our tech.
What about the situation? Because you talk about tech and competition and what's going on here in the States, jobs, wages, economy. Where do we potentially go from here?
In terms of
because of all of this that's going on.
In terms of the trade war.
Yeah.
Well, I think, look at us. I mean, we have a booming economy.
Right.
We have I mean, if you look at the rationale, with the original rationale, public rationale for the trade war was they're taking jobs. Well, if they're taking jobs, why do we have full employment?
Right.
There's a mismatch there.
What is this Cold War reference you put in your notes? Explain that one to us.
Well, I think if we let political rhetoric take over and go beyond trade, we get back to a 1950s, 1960s Cold War where they do become an enemy, where we see them as an enemy, and then we have conflicts over territories and little wars develop, which with miscalculation can grow into big wars.
Something tells me that this president or the next president, regardless of what side of the fence they're on, aisle, hopefully that won't happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more just battling it out for dollars, better trade negotiations, so that this way the U.S. doesn't get ripped off, that kind of stuff.
Well, in all honesty, China has been, China's actually been a great help to our economy in the last 10 years, strangely enough. I mean, this is bizarre to say, I realize.
Right.
But massive jobs haven't gone to China in the last 10 years. That's 10 years old.
Right.
And what China's been doing now is been bringing in cheap goods, which, for instance, wages have not gone up in the U.S. for various reasons, but it allows someone to buy, or a family to buy jeans for $80 instead of $300. And that additional money goes immediately into the U.S. economy.
Right.
So that's been a benefit. On the other hand, they've also been playing fast and loose with the rules. They've been stealing our tech. They've been playing fast and loose with the data rules. So this has to really, the rules have to be rewritten.
Right.
And unfortunately, the WTO, which is a great organization, was made before tech, so it doesn't involve any tech rules.